Hello, my name is Andy Johnstone. I'm a short story writer and novelist based in Manchester. My writing could be described as Laurie Moore working in collaboration with Edgar Allan Poe with a little bit of editing help from Donald Barthelme. But to put it another way, I suppose my writing tries to be funny and sad, disturbing and odd, but whether I'm successful at that or not is another question entirely. My latest publication was a short story called Uma Amiga, which featured in the latest issue of Bewildered magazine. It tells a very brief story of two men working in a Portuguese cafe in South London who are trying to work out whether a woman sitting on the veranda is a prostitute or not. It deals with ideas of perception and female stereotypes, whilst also being a blatant rip-off of an Ernest Hemingway story. Some of the ideas that interest me as a writer include how emotional intelligence and communication both evolve and devolve in the internet age, and also taking a funny look at horribly, horrifically tragic events. One of the writers who's most influenced me is Jorge Luis Borges. He kind of taught me not to take myself too seriously, but also to be ambitiously weird at the same time. 4 months after his third suicide attempt, Donald's leg had managed to heal, but the shortening that had been necessitated by that second fracture left him sporting a bit of a limp. Donald hadn't needed a limp, not even a bit of a one. Even at his best, he was a painfully insecure person. He didn't like his nose, or the mutual proximity of his eyes, or his posture, and he felt like his arms were longer than they ought to have been. The limp just exacerbated things. Now he saw himself loping through the streets and parks of the town like some badly dressed, underfed ape. He was convinced that he saw passers-by covering their mouths in horror and averting their eyes, that children cried at the sight of him. His sense of being ill at ease intensified to the point where he felt a certain empathic kinship with the assortment of oddballs and hunchbacks who would spend their weekday afternoons in the public library, staring at the walls. And yet, even there, in that haven for the urban alienated, Donald couldn't escape his feelings of self-consciousness. The main obstacle to his escape was the issue desk librarian, a young woman. She was a volunteer and her name was Margie. It said so on her name badge. Donald assumed it was short for Marjorie. He thought she was frighteningly pretty. Her nose was perfect, its bridge a straight line that curved luxuriantly at the bottom into her buttonhole nostrils. Her eyes were the ideal distance apart. The eyebrows above them, though untidy, were all the more beautiful for it. She had fantastic posture, and her arms were not inordinately long. Occasionally, Donald and Margie would talk, about the weather usually, but also about the books he was borrowing. "What's this one about?" she said, holding up a pinky cream-coloured Penguin Classics copy of Sons and Lovers. I haven't read it yet," said Donald, looking at the book, chancing a glance at Margie, then looking away at a poster over her left shoulder. "Oh yeah, of course you haven't. A lot of sex in Lawrence, isn't there?" The poster told teenagers to go to chlamydia screenings. I don't know, maybe, possibly," he said, reddening. Margie was 15 years younger than Donald. "Mm-hmm," she said. "Do you know what the DH stands for?" Donald shook his head. "Dead horny." She smiled and thunked the book across the desensitizer. Said Donald as bravely as he could. "What's your favourite book?" "The Bell Jar." Donald was looking at her name badge as she gave him Sons and Lovers, at how, pinned into her shirt, it seemed to sit contentedly on the small, soft pillow of her left breast. What? Pardon?" he said. "The Bell Jar? By Sylvia Plath?" "Oh, yeah, I know, yeah, it's good." Donald liked talking about books, about their self-contained, manageable little worlds. But with Margie, he found it hard to concentrate. Not just because of her nose, eyes, posture and arms, and not just because she might mention sex at any given moment. He found it hard to concentrate because, as they talked, he couldn't stop the little projector in his mind, which played out a looping reel in which she would, once his books had been issued, watch in cruel amusement as he hobbled through the exit.